best of luck the rest of the way. Thanks for telling us who the new coach is going to be. He's in his 5th year as Chief Executive Officer of the prestigious Allstate Sugar Bowl. He's presided over a national championship game. Sugar Bowl is going to feature a quarterfinal game this season. He served 3 decades with the organization in every capacity previously. You name it, he's done it. Served at the University of Georgia previously, native to Preston, Iowa, earned all the fame honors, being All-State football and basketball there. Has a degree from Iowa, a master's from Western Illinois, a great entity in our community, a tremendous supporter, the champion of amateur sports in Louisiana is the Allstate Sugar Bowl, and of course the national championship game on the horizon as well for New Orleans coming up in just a couple of years. And it's been a blessing to be part of that organization when they called me to be part of it way back when, I don't know, 1980, something like that, Ed and I together, like always, and we joined, and we've been part of that committee since then and enjoyed it immensely. And of course, we'll have a great game this year, and who knows, you never know who's going to be in it. Maybe it won't be, right? You just never know. With that, we give you our next speaker and our great friend, the CEO of the Allstate Sugar Bowl, Mr. Jeff Hundley. Jeff.
First of all, this is the 2nd year in a row I've shown up here on the back end of the flu, so I might be gunshot next year, kid. I don't know. But no, it's great to be with you all. Corbett, congratulations on your recognition. If you don't know, the Sugar Bowl Committee, which I've had the privilege to work for 32 years now, does a lot of good in this community, and we've got a couple of our committee members here, past President Mark Romey here, and Patrick Summerow are on the committee. We're big believers in supporting high school football in this city. We do it through our sponsorship of the Louisiana High School State Championships in the Dome. We sponsor the local chapter of the National Football Foundation, which honors student athletes who've done well on the field and in the classroom, and present significant scholarship dollars to that event on an annual basis. We do Ken Show, Friday Night Football with Ed. Over the years, we're still involved with that. So we love high school football, and it's pretty cool to see how this state, this city embrace from the grassroots on football means something here. So it's fun to be sitting in my job as we go forward. So the last 2 years I've come in here and I've been kind of sounding the all red alert that we have competition at our doorstep, our position in the future of the college football playoff was somewhat at stake. Money was driving a lot of every decision that's being made. Our population base is not as great as the cities that we're competing against. We don't have the corporate base, and so on and so on, which is a pretty daunting position to be in. But I'm here to report that we're going to have a glass half full report today. We've got some good news. Ken referenced it earlier, but just last month we announced that we'll be hosting the 2028 College Football Playoff National Championship game, which is a big deal. We had to compete to go get that. We had to guarantee multi-millions of dollars to cover the cost of that event in getting it, but we've gotten it, and it'll be the 2nd time in 8 years that we will have hosted that. We'll be working very closely with Jay and Tricia and the people at the Sports Foundation in producing that event going forward, but it'll be a fun year. That year we'll host a Sugar Bowl game on January 1st, and then the national championship game 3 weeks later. And for those of you scoring at home, that'll be about a $500 million economic impact during that time period, something that we're proud to be a part of. Furthermore, I'm also happy to report we've been competing against cities like Las Vegas and Nashville and Orlando and Houston that have deeper pocketbooks than us for our very spot in the playoff going forward. I'm happy to let you know that we're in the final stages of passing a contract back and forth that will give us a 6-year extension of our position as a playoff game on an annual basis. Of course, nothing's done until it's done and the ink's dry, but we feel really optimistic. We've been back and forth quite a bit and are in pretty good, landing in a pretty good spot. That will give us, in that 6-year term, we'll host 3 quarterfinal games and 3 semifinal games. The difference is if the playoff stays at 12 teams, which is a big if right now, I think it will continue next year at least with 12 teams. But as it expands, if it stays on the same time trajectory, we'll play those quarterfinal games on or around January 1st, and then the semifinal games will be played between the 10th and the 14th of January every year. But again, it's exciting news for us. For us, it was important to stay at the top and to do whatever it took to make sure that we got that job done. A lot of people, excuse me, in this room, as well as in this community and around the state, were helpful. As I said, we put the all call out 2 years ago, the Keep the Warm and Sweet campaign, and we've gotten a positive response. We've still got work to do, but enough to where we felt good going forward, making some financial commitments that needed to be made. And obviously, the powers that be, the conferences aren't asking for less money these days. So we managed to go forward and make it happen. And that's important on a number of reasons. It's the economic impact that the Sugar Bowl has on an annual basis. The game has had a $2.4 billion economic impact over the past decade, and that's real tax dollars, over almost $250 million in tax revenue, to the city and state. And, even further, it lets us do the kind of good things that the committee wants to do in the community. We've said it, maybe I said it last year, but I'm going to repeat it. We've spent $5 million in the last 5 years supporting public school teachers in this city. We found out that the public school workforce was turning over completely every 3 years. You can't sustain anything positive when that's going on. And so we put $5 million along with the College Football Playoff Foundation behind the effort to recruit, recognize, and retain quality teachers, and I'm happy to report that we're making some progress in that area. We'd like it to be better than what it is right now, but it is better than when we got started. And so we'll continue with that. I mentioned the scholarship program. We do a boys scholarships through the National Football Foundation. We do the same level for the girls through our Women in Sport platform that we do at our annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony every year. We're constantly trying to bring different games to the city. We brought a kickoff game a couple of years ago with Florida State and LSU. And tell Verge he owes us another game. He promised me one. So we're going to try to have another one of those in the not too distant future. And that allows us to do things like we did at Joe Brown Park, a $10 million rebuild of that facility out in the east with Drew Brees and Nike to make that happen. So again, that's why it was important to us, so that we could continue to have an impact on the community. This year's game we'll talk about a little bit, Benny, if you pop the bracket up. This is only as we stand today, what it would look like. As a reminder, this year is the last of the existing agreement that we have with the College Football Playoff. I told you we're close to getting a 6-year extension. But we get the higher ranked of the SEC or the Big 12 champion. As of today's rankings, A&M would be the highest ranked, and so we would have A&M, with a bye into our game, and then they would play, and by virtue of their number 3 ranking, they'd play the 6-11 winner, which would be the winner of Texas Tech, Miami. Let me tell you, if we had Texas Tech against Texas A&M, we'd run for the hills with that right now. That would bring everybody, that whole state over here to that game, and would have a huge economic impact for everybody involved. It is important to note that Texas, depending on what happens with the SEC, the last 2 games of the season. It's not inconceivable if Texas Tech were to win out, somehow they could bounce ahead of an SEC champion. It's probably a long shot, but we're have to look at that as a possibility, as Tech being a possibility for our game. The rankings will come out later tonight, so all this will mean nothing. Once the CFP rankings, and then they'll change again after in the next 2 weeks, as we go. But it's an exciting time for us. We're sold out for this year's game. It's that's the neat thing and the important thing about being a playoff game every year. The game matters. People care about it, and so it's easier to sell tickets and to fill the house and have the impact that our mission requires of us. As to the future, I apologize, y'all. I got it right here. We have, there's a lot of debate been going on for a long time about whether to expand the playoff beyond 12 teams. And there's a looming deadline 2 weeks from yesterday. December 1st is the deadline for the conference commissioners. They're the ones that are making the decisions. The head of the SEC, the Big Ten, the American, etc. Everybody, they get together, but ultimately, the final decision-making authority rests with the SEC and the Big Ten. And right now, they're in opposite corners. So, in terms of what they think it should look like going forward. The SEC is taking the position that they want they support a 16-team playoff, but they don't want a bunch of automatic qualifiers from conferences. They like their chances, and this year is probably a good example of the number of SEC teams that are ranked, in the top 12 right now, and in the top 15 even, bodes to the fact that they would do better, than other leagues if it went that way. The Big Ten is making the argument they don't like humans ranking teams, and so they want to, play it out inside of their conference and have automatic qualifiers. And they've made a pitch. The commissioners met just yesterday in Charlotte, and heard another pitch from the Big Ten on their view of the world, but I'm told not much has moved and not to expect much change. So if we get to December 1st with no change or no decision, that means we're going into next year with 12-team playoff. And then they have until next December 1st to change it and expand it further. So we'll hurry up and wait some more, but the good news is we're going to be part of it, and we're proud to be a part of it. Thank you for your time today.